All right. Today we're going to get into the nitty-gritty details of how to actually multiply. And today we're going to use what's called the partial products method. But before we do that, I want to see what kind of methods you might use for solving this problem. After you finish solving this problem yourself, come check with Miss Becker. I want to see some of your strategies. You could use all sorts of different ways to solve this problem, and maybe you'll actually use a multiplication strategy. So Paula's new baby sister sleeps about 16 hours per day. About how many hours does she sleep in 1 week? Well, remember that 1 week is actually 7 days. So you're trying to figure out if she sleeps 16 hours per day, how many total hours is she going to sleep in 7 days? Solve this problem on your whiteboard and then come take a look with Miss Becker on on the strategy that you used. All right, you're back from Miss Becker. So let's take a look. You possibly used repeated addition. You might have said 16 plus 16, and you might have done that 7 times. You could have also found that and did multiplication, 16 times 7, if you know a strategy for using that. Did you maybe find out what 8 times 7 was, and then double the results because 8 plus 8 is 16? Or did you multiply 20 times 7 and get 140, and then subtract 4 times 7, because 20 minus 4 is 16. You could have used all of these strategies. And if you got to the result of 112, then you would be completely correct no matter how you did it. Today we're going to learn a multiplication strategy that will allow you just to multiply 16 times 7. It's going to be very similar to this. This person broke down 16 into 10 times 7 and 6 times 7. Because 10 plus 6 is 16. Or if I look at it this way, I have 10 and 6 equals 16. I have the 10 comes from the tens column, and the 6 comes from the ones column. I know that 10 times 7 is 70, and I know that 6 times 7 is 42, and I'm going to add them together. We're going to do this today, and it's called the partial products method. Before we do that, though, let's do a little bit of mental math. Please decide whether or not you're going to do 1 dot, 2 dot, or 3 dot. Remember that when we're multiplying, we multiply those first numbers, and then we're going to add the zeros on at the end. So for example, if I only have 1 0 in my problem, I'm only going to add 1 0 on. Pause your video while I pause mine, and when you come back, the answers will be on your screen. All right, here are your answers. If you had any trouble with this or if you're confused, please come find Miss Becker and we'll work through some of these problems together. But as you can see, you're just adding the zeros onto the end of that fact that you solved. All right, we're going to solve these problems together. Solve this one with me as I do it. I'm going to actually line this problem up a little bit differently. If I were to solve this problem, it would look like this. I'm going to put the bigger number on the top, 54, times 3. And to solve this problem today, I'm going to break 54 into 2 numbers. 50, because it has a 0 and makes it a lot easier. And then 4, because 4 is an easy number to multiply, and because it's in the ones column. So technically, this would be 50 plus 4. Now, I'm going to multiply both of these numbers by 3. So if I move this star, I will be able to see that I have 3 times 50, like that, which is 150. 3 times 5 is 15, add a 0. And I will have 4 times 3, or 3 times 4, and that equals 12. Well, the last step is just going to be to add 150 and 12 together. 150 plus 12 is 162. So for example, again, I broke 54 into 2 easy numbers, 50 plus 4, and then I multiplied the 3 times both of those numbers. 3 times 50, 3 times 50, and 3 times 4. And then I added those numbers together. Take a look at this one, 83 times 6. Well, together, let's decide 83 can be broken into 8 tens, which would be 80, and 3 ones, which would be 3. I'm going to multiply both of those numbers by 6. See if you can do this problem on your whiteboard. Pause your video. If you decided that 80 times 6 was 480, and if you decided that 6 times 3 was 18, then you're absolutely correct. Now what do you do with those two numbers, 480 and 18? If you think that you should add those two numbers together, then you're completely correct. If those two problems really confused you, please come find Mrs. Becker so that you can work through a couple extras together. This is really similar to what we were just doing, except now it uses three numbers. Not a big deal at all. I'm going to just break this number down. 869. Well, I'm going to use as many zeros as possible. So I know that 8 turns into 800. Then I'm going to turn the 6, it's in the tens column, so that's actually 60. And then 9's in the ones column, so it's going to stay 9. I'm going to multiply all of these numbers by 6. So 800 times 6, 60 times 6, and 9 times 6. So let's take a look. 6 times 800, 6 times 8 is 48. Look at your multiplication grid if you need help. And you're going to add 2 zeros. So I'm going to write that number right here. Make sure you line it up. 48 and 2 zeros. Sorry about my writing. Moving on, I'm going to do 6 times the next one. 6 times 60. Well, I know that 6 times 6 is 36, and I'm going to add a 0 onto it. And so I'm going to back it up to the back. So I'm actually going to even write it in backwards. The 0, and then the 36. It's so important that I add these numbers in the right columns. And then the last one, 6 times 9. Well, I know that 6 times 9 is 54, not 56. I'm going to back that number up right to the end. And then I'm going to add these numbers up. So I'll have 6. 6 plus 5 is 11, so I need to carry the 1. 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 1 is 12. Carry the 1. And 4 plus 1 is 5. So my answer will be 5,216. Look at that. You just multiplied a big number. Try this one on your own. Pause the video. When you come back, the answer will be on the board. All right, so you made this number into 400 plus 30 plus 5, and you're going to multiply 5 times all of those numbers. 5 times 400, 5 times 30, and 5 times 5. 5 times 4 is 20, and I'm going to add 2 zeros, so I'm going to put the 2 zeros down. And then I'm going to put the 20 just to make sure I'm in the right lines. Then I have 5 times 30. Well, 5 times 3 is 15, plus one of those zeros. I'm going to put the 0 down and the 15. And 5 times 5 is 25. Making sure that they all line up and all the gaps are filled into this back line. Now the last thing all I need to do is add. I'm going to be very careful to add down the lines. 5 plus 2 is 7. 0 plus 1 is 1. And 2 will just come down. My answer is 2,175. If you got both of those answers correct, then you can move on. If you didn't, then please find Mrs. Becker to try some extra problems. If you'd like to solve this problem, you may solve it yourself and then come ask Ms. Becker if you have the right answer. Otherwise, you're going to open your notebook to page 119 and 118. You have the 6 problems up on the board, but not a lot of space. On my board, I have a ton of space right here, but you don't have that kind of space, so you're going to want to use your whiteboard. Again, you're going to break these numbers up. So, for example, 82 would become 80 and 2. 574 would become 570 and 4. Take your time with this, and then after you're done with the first 3 problems, come see Miss Becker, and after you're done with the next 6 problems, come see Miss Becker. She will then give you directions for what to do on the next page, page 119. Good luck!